y'all? Welcome back to TRU88Podcast with your host, True Car. Today I wanted to talk about connections and understanding truly what you need in a connection, and also understanding to give yourself what you need, so that way when other people come in, they can't manipulate you into feeling like you don't deserve what you need, or they can't manipulate you into dimming down to accept their bare minimum. And I think that's important to understand, because like for me, I was, at the time you are about to go to sleep, that's when your mind kind of wants to do the dance of like racing the most. And before I went to sleep the other night, I was thinking, when I finally do start to connect again, because I have been in a period of time with just connecting to myself and just allowing myself to be my own best friend, or allowing myself to be my own partner, and just aligning with just being there for myself. And I started to think like, dang, what would I want in connection? What would I want in connection? Because I'm starting to be in a position for myself to be more open to aligning with connections. And I realized when I was thinking in my past, when I had to release and let go of people, like in those connections, I felt seen, but I felt seen in a way of people saw me, but they wanted me not to see myself, or they wanted me to dim down for them, or they wanted to try to humble me when I was already humble, or they didn't feel comfortable with just seeing me happy. And if they did make me happy, they instantly wanted to make me uncomfortable with being happy. They instantly wanted to try to trigger me, or whatever the case may be. And I realized too, in that space, people can't make you feel anything that you don't allow yourself to feel as well. But I also realized that when I do connect to others, I want to make sure that the biggest thing for me is to just have people around me that actually love themselves, not even on a surface level type of love, because I think that I've had people around me that love themselves on the surface level, like, taking care of themselves and, money or whatever the case may be. But I think that I attracted people that didn't necessarily love themselves to the core, and also understanding that I attracted that because that's who I was in a period of time in my life in the past as well. And that's all I knew in a sense of what I grew up around, or what my parents were, or whatever the case may be. And far in between in my lifetime, I've moved around a lot as a kid, and I've had to stay with different people. I've been in foster care homes and things of that nature. And I realized that for myself, I was afraid of actually being happy, because in the spaces and times in my life where I was happy, it always got taken away from me. Like when I was finally in a foster care home during a summer period, I was in a foster care home, and they had the woman there was actually nurturing and caring, and she had everything for kids and things of that nature, and instantly got taken away from that. Or when I was in 6th grade and I was about to go to 7th grade, living with my teacher at a period of time and truly feeling loved and cared for in that environment, and instantly having to be taken away from that because they wanted me to be with my sister, or whatever the case may be, and getting taken away from that and then going into foster care. Like in that space and time, I cried really hard when I got taken away from that. And I remember like the social workers kind of being a little irritated at that. And I realized too in that space and time that I definitely want to adopt one day. But also, just going back to what I was saying, I just realized and understood that I've been afraid of being happy within my life because it was always taken away from me, or trying to be taken away from me in some aspect, in some way, by other people being triggered by me being at peace or being happy. And something that I've built up for myself that nobody can take away because I've done the inner work to do it is peace. But I realized that the happiness aspect has been dimmed. Like, I don't have fun anymore. I don't allow myself to, dance for real anymore, or like just find the happiness in life, because I feel like I have people around me, or I still to this day have people around me that just get triggered by my happiness. And so I realized as well, I ended up reaching out to a past friend of mine from childhood, and I had to let her know that she played a big part in my life. And even though it was for a glimpse moment, she really played a big part of my life of showing me what real love and friendship really meant. And also, her dad really showed me what a father really is. And I had to tell her that I really appreciated that in my life, because in my lifetime I've been through a lot of struggle and a lot of pain and a lot of, hard moments. But I have had glimpses of times where people were full of love. And I think that's why I still have, space, and I have a space in me that is just full of love. And I realize too and understand why I've been through so much hardship, because I've been shaped and molded to be the person that I'm meant to be in this lifetime. And being able to open up and share my story, or share the wisdom that I've gotten from those different connections or those different spaces and time in my life. But I also realize now that I need to allow myself to be more happy and allow myself to be more open to other connections other than the heaviness of family, or the heaviness of like karmic ties from my past, and allowing myself to be happy whether people get affected by me being happy or not. And I think it's important to understand, when you're trying to break a cycle in your life, it is going to be uncomfortable. And even if it's something that is good, because I remember for me personally, like, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with, it's like I try to hide my happiness from certain people because I know they want me to be upset, or they want to try to trigger me, or they want to try to take something from me. Because I wasn't raised by my parents. And I realized too, like, me being an adult and having to live with my parents in my adulthood, I realized that is not something that I wanted to be. I didn't want to be raised by them. I didn't want them to be, like, when I was a kid, I never had that feeling of, dang, I want my parents to be together. I never had that feeling of like, oh dang, I wish they didn't get a divorce. Like, from a young age, I realized that they weren't people that were meant to stay together forever. And I realized too, as I grew older, and like I said, having to stay with them, because I realized for myself as well, life aligns for me to really deal with what I need to deal with, to heal what I need to heal. Like, for example, right, I had a mother wound and a father wound, but in that space of me having a mother wound and a father wound, I needed to understand that is what that was. And so I remember, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I've been single for 8 years, and I remember I used to date this girl, and she reminded me a lot of my mom. And that's something that I realized with healing my mother and my father wound, I ended up dating people that really acted like them, to really bring to light that is why I was attracting those type of dynamics, because they really acted like them. So it really helped me to see, like, okay, I'm attracting this because this is what I'm used to in this type of dynamic. So dealing with that, ending up breaking up from that relationship, and then having to live with my mom and her having mental issues and her having, schizophrenia, and dealing with that heaviness, and her being emotionally abusive, or waking up every day to her yelling to the top of her lungs, "Get out of my ear," or whatever the case may be, and feeling stuck and stagnant within that, because I was in a small town. And before I had to move with my mom, I was about to go to the military, and I ended up messing up my knee. So feeling stuck and stagnant, because physically I felt like I couldn't do what I needed to do because my knee was in bad shape. And so also just being in a mindset, because when you're around something like that every single day, and you don't really have, because I didn't have friends that I could go, connect with or be around. Like, I was really stuck in that position to where I had to just deal with that and allow myself to, because in that space I also, meditated and tried to find peace, and it helped me a lot through that situation. But also realizing that in that situation, getting away from that situation finally, because I did end up finding a job, I ended up getting away from that situation and moving back with my dad, and working in an environment, and I ended up healing and allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel. And then my mom ended up coming down where I live with my dad, and then that really allowed me to really just completely dive into the mother wound, and really allowing myself to really relinquish it altogether. Me just understanding in my life that life really just has happened for me, even if it was painful in those transitions. So understanding, like I said, trying to go to sleep and really connecting to what I really need or what I really want in connections, understanding that I really just want people around me that really love themselves and that really allow me to completely be me. And when they see me happy, they just allow me to be happy. Or when they see me down, they want to make it better, instead of it putting a smile on their face, or instead of it making them feel better about themselves. Like, I really realized what I need in connection, but I also realized the reason why I had to deal with those far in between spaces of understanding what real love felt like, or real happiness felt like as well. Really understanding why life has transitioned or happened in the way that it's happened for me. But I think it's just important to understand what you can take from different connections, and allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel and heal from those different connections, so that you can truly understand what you need in connections, and what you can truly understand, like what you can give yourself to allow yourself to start attracting those different type of people into your life, or allow yourself to cut off who you need to cut off to make room for that to happen, or figure out ways that you can give yourself that, and distance yourself if you need people in your life. If you're needing them at the time, in whatever way, distancing yourself a little bit at a time, to really transition into independence as well. And I think that's important to understand, but also not moving out of scarcity or lack because you're trying to run away from a problem or run away from different connections, because it might just put you back in a situation where you still need them, or you still have to depend on them, or you even more so have to depend on them as well. I think it's important to truly find what aligns with you as a human being so that when you move away or when you disconnect from people, you do it with confidence and conviction and most importantly love, so that you can make decisive decisions. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to connections, or a healthy connection with yourself as well. But yeah, I think it's important to just understand, if you want healthier connections, you have to understand what parts you played in those connections that were also toxic for yourself, and what you allowed to play out, what you allowed to give your attention and your time and your energy to, and how you dimmed yourself down to fit in, or how you dimmed yourself down to make other people feel comfortable. You have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable, to be okay with other people being uncomfortable with your presence or your energy or your happiness or your joy or your success or whatever the case may be. Like, you have to allow yourself to see them uncomfortable and still shine your light and still stand in your truth and still choose what is aligned for you, so that you can actually misalign with those different connections that are not for you anymore. Those karmic ties. If you want to release and let go of karmic connections, you have to release and let go of the trauma that is bonding y'all together, the cycle that is bonding y'all together. What in you is accepting that type of dynamic? What in you is accepting and feel like you deserve that type of treatment, or feel like you deserve people hurting you or trying to break you down, or whatever the case may be? Because I feel like, for me personally, growing up, like I said, living with so many different people, I felt like I had to dim down and make them comfortable in order for me to have stability. But I also realized that it didn't matter. Me growing up and being an adult now, I realized, like, it didn't matter how much I dimmed down or made those people feel, empowered, so-called empowered, by me dimming down or me not, shining. Those people were going to kick us out or remove us from their houses either way. It didn't matter what I did or how I moved or whatever the case may be. Those people didn't want the responsibility of other people's kids. They didn't want the responsibility of, and also growing up too, like, and being an adult and having to live with my parents, really understanding and realizing they didn't necessarily want the responsibility of having kids either, but they just felt like it's something that they had to do. And really me realizing too more about myself and understanding that I am different, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be happy and different, or embody my differences, and understanding that I don't have to align with the so-called social norm to make other people happy, because I realize how miserable it really is, or it really looks for people to grow up and never choose themselves. And also understanding how much, when people grow up in that space, just trying to align with social norms or what other people see as happiness, they end up being miserable in old age, and they also end up projecting and wanting other people to settle around them as well. And I just don't want to be that person as I get older. I want to be the person that, because the more you love yourself and connect to yourself and stand in your truth, you're automatically going to pour that out onto others. And the more you are miserable and hurt and just living day by day and just trying to get to this false illusion of what other people think happiness is, you're going to be in a space where you are also pouring that over onto other people as well. And I think, for me personally, I think it's just important to be your own safe space and be a safe space for others. And I also feel like for me, what I want in connection is to have those extensions of safe spaces. And I want to be a safe space for other people as well. But I want to also have connections where it's just a safe space altogether, because everybody loves themselves and everybody is trying to show up as the healthiest version of what they believe is right for them, so that they can pour and overflow and not give from a space of emptiness trying to get something from me, or me giving from a space of emptiness trying to get something from somebody else. I think it's important to just fill your own cup up, so that way when you connect to people, it's either you see your cup as half full, or or your cup is overflowing. So that way you understand what you need in connection, and that way you're not wasting your time or other people's time in the space of just trying to connect, or in a space of being in safe connections. I think it's important to just really understand and align with what you need for yourself, so that way when you connect to other people, it's an easy flow of either them coming into your life and y'all connecting, or them flowing out of your life because you understand that it's not something for you, or they understand that it's not something for them. So you're not holding on to them in an anxious way, having an anxious attachment, but just are in a space of having being avoidant or anything like that. You're just allowing the connection to flow, or allowing yourself to flow in that connection. And you're not afraid of being abandoned, or you're not afraid of releasing connections because you're afraid of how you're going to look, or you're afraid of being alone, or whatever the case may be. And that's why I think it's important to really connect to yourself and really find what is for you, so that you can easily flow in and out of what is for you or what is not for you. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this podcast. Make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are looking for an ebook or if you are looking for a safe space within yourself and trying to figure out how to find that true peace, I do have an ebook called True Bliss, and it provides step-by-step examples on how to connect to peace, and also how to protect your peace when it comes to connections, or when it comes to work environments, or when it comes to whatever type of dynamic in your life. And it also has meditations in it and breath works that you can use in order to release and let go of heaviness that you are storing within your body or within your energy. So if you are interested in that, make sure that you check it out as well. And I'll put a link in the description box, or it'll be on my Instagram. And my Instagram is just Caroline Carr if you look up Caroline Carr, or it'll be on my Facebook, which is also Caroline Carr, if you want to check that out.